Lovely to have you all here. Welcome to the Green Star Fitouts consultation briefing webinar. We'll be doing a bit of an intro as to the new Green Star Fitouts rating tool that we're developing and the draft credits we put out for public consultation. So as you hopefully know or have an idea, Green Star Fitouts is a rating tool to guide applicants in creating sustainable Green Star certified fitouts. So this tool will play a really crucial role in helping to define what decisions you can make and actions you can take to tackle some of the really lofty problems that fit-outs currently contribute to. So it aims to provide you with some guidance and help you tell people about your efforts and achievements in raising the bar for the great outcomes that can be achieved through creating really great fit-outs with confidence and backing of a third-party certification like Green Star. And before we kick off, we'd always love to acknowledge the First Nations people of all country throughout Australia and their cultural, spiritual, physical, and emotional connection with the lands, waters, and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that ecologically sustainable development is not a standalone concept, but really intrinsic to First Nations people from whom we have a lot to learn. In our roles, in shaping the built environment, we need to incorporate these principles by embedding a connection to country in the design process and as part of operations.
Hi, Gab. I'll say a quick karakia, which is a Maori greeting. And I think this karakia is well suited because to me, it speaks to working together towards a common goal, which is why I think we're all here today. Tutawa mai runga, tutawa mai raro, tutawa mai roto, tutawa mai waho, kia tawai, te mario tu, te mario ora, ki te katoa, humie hui taikie.
Thanks, Joe. And also before we get into it, we'd also love to thank our partners. They really support us in driving sustainable transformation of the built environment. And as you'll come to know, we are also working with the New Zealand Green Building Council and partnering together to develop and deliver Green Star Fitouts. So today you'll hear from lovely Taryn Cornell, the Senior Manager of Strategy and Development at GBCA. You'll hear from Joe again, so the Manager of Buildings and Communities at New Zealand Green Building Council. And you'll hear from myself, Green Star Program Lead at GBCA. And what you'll hear today. So as we've said, we're developing Green Star Fitouts, a rating tool for guiding applicants in creating sustainable Green Star certified fitouts. Today, we'll run you through the why, what, and how of Green Star Fitouts, the draft credits that we're proposing in this consultation, and reiterating how you can help to shape the future of fitouts and of this Green Star Fitouts rating tool. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature. And if you need help, please use the chat function. We'll do our best to answer there. And if we have time at the end, we can answer some of them verbally as well. I'll now pass over to Taryn Cornell to start this next section to introduce Green Star.
Thanks, Gab, and also just full acknowledgement to Gab, who's been a driving force behind this rating tool. So appreciate all of the work that you've done to date, Gab. Green Star. So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Green Star, I'm guessing a lot of you might be. It's a rating tool. We have a number of different rating tools across the built environment. The mission of Green Star is to lead the sustainable transformation of the built environment, and we aim to do that through reducing the impacts of climate change, enhancing health and quality of life, restoring and protecting biodiversity and ecosystems, driving resilient outcomes, and contributing to market transformation and a sustainable economy. The future focus program of works is the revamp of Green Star that we've been working on now for 5 or 6 years, quite a while. It's been a big program of works. We've had Green Star Buildings, which is for new buildings, homes, which is for Class 1 homes in Australia. We've got Green Star Performance, which is for existing buildings, and Green Star Communities, which is for master plan precincts. And we are very, very excited that we're now coming to work on Green Star Fitouts in a really detailed way. And this is a a rating tool that's really focused at new fit outs. And we really think that this particular rating tool has as I've mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity for this if you think about not only the number of fit outs, but how often fit outs turn over in the lifetime of a building. So very excited to bring this to you. I'm going to introduce Green Star Fitouts a little bit, but then I'll hand back to Joe to talk a little bit about the New Zealand involvement, but also then Gab will take us through a lot of the detail of the consultation paper. But as I mentioned, the fit outs rating tool is it's for new fit outs. We have 6 categories in the rating tool that we're proposing: circular, responsible, healthy, positive, people, and leadership. If you're familiar with the future focus rating tools, a number of these categories will be familiar to you, but one that won't be is circular. It's a brand new category that we have in this rating tool. There are aspects of circularity that we've introduced to some of the rating tools in future focus, but this particular category is a first for Green Star, and actually I'm going to go out on a limb here and say really for rating tools worldwide. This is a really leading edge thing that we're trying to do here to reward and make the focus of the rating tool. I'll talk a little bit about the timeline in a moment, but the circular piece was something that we got a lot of strong feedback on when we did our scoping consultation paper last year. So circularity, it's really trying to address all of the aspects of a fit out that can be made circular, and all the different ways in which fit outs can be made circular. Where this is a particular category that we want lots of feedback on because it's a new one for us. So we're kind of looking for lots of ideas from industry on how to recognize circular practices. We have the responsible category that looks at the way that the fit out is designed and procured, built and handed over. And you'll see in particular, there's a lot of the material credits from the existing interiors tool in there, or really that's where we recognize a lot of materiality. Healthy is about what the fit out delivers in terms of physical and mental health of occupants. So things like clean air, light quality, but also a number of other credits that are really aiming to address both the physical and mental health of its occupants. Positive, which outlines a number of different issues related to carbon, water, and the impact of materials. And our people category, which is about recognizing the things that the fit out is doing to promote social health of the community within that fit out. And we also have the leadership category, which is our innovation revamp for those that are familiar with Green Star Interiors. And so that's all about recognizing market transformation and leadership challenges, which are areas that GBCA is looking to push as a new frontier. Next slide, please, Gab. Thank you. And so, as I mentioned, we last year we did some scoping. It feels like a while ago now, but we put out a public consultation paper to really ask industry what the rating tool should address. And there are a number of different aspects of that. We really encourage, if you haven't had a chance to read that, go back and read the scoping paper, because that articulates all of the things at a high level this rating tool is aiming to drive. There was a consultation piece as a part of that, and we got resounding support for pretty much everything that we had proposed in there. And so there's also a summary document available that you can look at to understand how people felt about each of the proposals that we had there. Since then, we've been working on some draft development, so working with our early access program and a couple of consultants. So huge thanks to all of them, as well as our governance groups. We have a pretty robust governance process here at the GBCA to really try to make sure that the content of the rating tool is addressing the needs both of fit out owners, designers, fit out contractors, as well as driving all of the outcomes that we've promised. And so that's the bit that we are now looking to release for public consultation. We've put credits together as a draft form, and Gab will run you through what is in the paper. But yeah, there's been a lot of work gone into trying to articulate the specific things that we think fit out should drive. But also what we're trying to do here is to think about the range of fit outs that this could apply to, and the scale. So we're trying to make sure that this is a rating tool that could work for a small fit out or a series of small fit outs, all the way through to, multi-level large fit outs. Once the public consultation finishes, so it's open until the end of January. So I'm sure all of you will be very excited on your summer holidays to read this document and fill out the consultation feedback. If not, please do it in January when you're back from your holidays. But we will take all of that feedback and we will use that to finalize the rating tool and take it once again through a round of our governance groups, consulting partners, and our governance process, our expert reference panel process as well. And we're aiming to release in 2025, somewhere around the second half. So with that, if you would like to read along in the paper, you will see some numbers, I think, some page numbers that reference where we're at in the paper. So the stuff that Gab is talking to. So here's an opportunity for you to open that using the QR code, but it's also available as a link, and we hopefully can put that in the chat so you've got access to it. I'm going to pass back over to Joe to talk a little bit about our New Zealand partnership.
Thanks, Taryn and Gab, and to the GBCA for inviting me to join you today. As mentioned, I'm Joe Quad coming to you from Auckland, and I work on the Green Star team at the New Zealand Green Building Council. So for those of you in Australia that haven't worked across the Tasman before, we do use Green Star over here in New Zealand, but in the past, we've always been a few years behind in terms of which version we use. So for example, like Taryn mentioned, that Green Star Buildings has been around for a while over in Australia, but we've just released it in August of this year here in New Zealand. So previously, we've always used the GBCA version of a new Green Star tool as the starting point, and then we take that to bring that through consultation with our industry and our technical experts to make any changes required to make it suitable for our market. So this is the first time we are actually joining in a combined consultation process. Not only does that mean that we'll be on the same timeline as GBCA, and our market will have access to Green Star Fitouts sooner, but it also means that our industry has an opportunity to feed into the development of the whole tool, not just the New Zealand specific version. And that's really exciting for us. Over the past few months, we've been working closely with the GBCA to incorporate some of the lessons learned during our Green Star Buildings consultation process, and that's to help us with the starting point for a tool suitable across both countries. We believe that for fit-outs, the majority of the tool will be the same in both markets, but of course there'll be a few exceptions. And you'll notice in the consultation paper, there's already a placeholder for the Tohu Mariora credit, which was developed by us and our Maori Technical Working Group for Green Star Buildings, and that's to highlight some of the unique Indigenous culture here in New Zealand. And now, of course, we're looking forward to consulting with our industry to help make this tool the best it can be and to identify any other changes that might be required to make, that are New Zealand specific, that needs to be addressed to make it suitable. Thanks. Back to you, Gab.
Lovely. Thanks, Drew. So like Joe said, it's really exciting that this is the first time we're actually working together on the same timeline to produce a rating tool together that the industry can use. So it's an exciting milestone for us. I'm going to take you through now a bit about the consultation paper. I'll give you some background as well as to the why, the what, the how of Green Star Fitouts, so how we've actually got to this point. Like Taryn said, there are a couple of markers in the top right-hand corner. So if there are things that you are interested in, you can refer to that page in the consultation paper. And just reiterating, the most important thing that we are trying to get from this consultation period is your feedback and your insights. This isn't kind of a solo effort. This is one where we need to all be working together to understand how we drive great outcomes. And we really need your help to understand what requirements we can set out and how we can make it work for a broad range of different fit-out projects. So please get involved, bring your passionate selves to this and help us shape up some great requirements that can drive change in the fit-out industry. And I'll tell you a bit about why we actually need that change too. So fit outs have huge impacts, I guess a lot more substantial than we probably previously recognized. They contribute to approximately 10% of emissions from materials and construction. So they play a role in that kind of key stat of emissions production. They also are a part of that 50% use of resources for buildings and fit outs. So that's a huge amount of resources and energy and effort, time, labor that we're putting into resources that are going into our fit outs and into our buildings. And then we're also sitting at a stat right now around 7% circularity currently in the global economy. It just means that we are not using and keeping materials at their highest value for long enough. So this is something that needs to change and that we are driving through this tool. And we want your help to get it right, to make sure that we are driving change in the right ways and that we are really helping push industry along and get this figure up higher. So we're making the most of all of the resources that we extract and that we use, and that we're actually keeping that value high. There's no need to be so wasteful as we are now. 5 key things that you need to know about green stuff fit outs. So these are kind of the key things that we're aiming to do at that high level. We are looking to deliver a new definition of sustainable fit outs. It's a big job. It's why our tool is holistic as well. And it's part of this process of actually working with you to define what does that look like, and then how do we help you get there? The second part is that we are driving the supply chain transformation to foster a circular economy. So in the choices we make in procurement and in design and in constructing fit outs, we can have a role in impacting the supply chain that are providing us with those materials and resources, so that we're making better choices, that we're using materials, for example, that can be broken down by biological processes, or that do have additional uses that they can go on to fulfill after the first use. We have a huge role to play in just transforming the supply chain here. Number 3 is about supporting design of spaces that enhance occupant well-being. So really looking at how the way we design and construct actually impacts the way we feel in the spaces that we occupy. And the 4th is about supporting achievement of Paris Agreement emission reduction targets. We want a lower impact future. Again, this churn of fit outs and all the emissions that go into producing fit outs has a big impact. So in the space that you're in the role that you're in, how can we start to change this and target that Paris Agreement emissions reduction targets as well? And number 5 is about making this tool work for multiple fit out typologies and scopes. So as Taryn said, we want to broaden the reach of this. We want to make it usable for a range of different types of fit outs. So we're talking from offices to food and retail, fashion retail fit outs, education fit outs, and more. And then also different scopes of work too. So whether you're starting with cold shell or warm shell, we're considering how a fit out reusing a majority of an existing fit out may approach this tool as well. So we've got some questions in the consultation survey about that. And we also want to make sure that it's working for different sizes and different scales, different locations where there may be challenges that come up as well. So again, this is somewhere where we need your help to make sure that what we're putting out there, that you can tell us that it's working for the different scenarios and circumstances that you see come up in your experience working in fit outs. You can see a bit more about this information, as Taryn said, in the scoping consultation paper that we released last year too. So that can drive a bit more of that vision if you want to step back a notch there. There are a couple of other things that we want to do through this rating tool as well. We want it to be more usable for designers and architects. So we want you designers and architects out there to use your influence and your skills to champion sustainable design and construction and fit outs. You have a big role to play here, and we want to make sure that this is a tool that you can pick up and work with. We also want to set some mandatory requirements in this so that there is kind of a clear definition about what a Green Star rated fit out is doing and what it's achieving. We'll do this through minimum expectations, which we'll talk to further. And again, in this consultation period, we are proposing what we think should be minimum expectations and the requirements they'll entail. And those are the things we've worked on with our governance groups and with our technical experts. But again, we want to hear from you and understand if they'll work for you, if there are any barriers in achieving some of those too. If we need different pathways to get to some of the outcomes that we're driving so that you can actually get there on a smaller fit out, on a fit out in a regional area. We don't want to create kind of barriers to entry where we can avoid them in this tool. We also want this to work for volume fit out. So that means multiple fit outs of the same design. In the existing Green Star Interiors tool, we have a volume certification approach, which allows organizations with a standard design to have evidence for credits or requirements pre-assessed essentially. And this is something that we actually want to build into the rating tool now as we're developing this new tool. And as Joe said, and as we've said, we want this to work for fit outs based in both Australia and New Zealand. So it's working for both of our markets. And a bit about how it will work. So a lot of you might be familiar with that kind of the structure we use for the ratings. But for those who aren't, so we work on a star rating basis in Green Star. In Green Star Fit Outs, we're proposing 3 tiers of ratings. So working up from 4-star, which equals best practice, 5-star, which is Australian excellence, up to 6-star, which is world leadership. And so a bit about how we're proposing to get there. So we're proposing that for a Green Star 4-star certified fit out, all you need to do is meet the set of minimum expectations. We'll go through these in a little bit more detail, and you can read in more detail about them in the consultation paper. But again, these are kind of the mandatory, the minimum things that you need to do to get a fit out certified. Within these, there are some climate positive pathway requirements, and we'll talk to you a bit more about kind of what these terms are for anyone who's not familiar with them. As we go up a notch, so for a 5-star rated fit out, you need to meet the minimum expectations, climate positive pathway requirements. So those are an additional kind of set of mandatory requirements dependent on your star rating. And then you need to meet X amount of additional points to achieve that 5-star rating. So the number of points right now for each of these star ratings has not been determined. That's something that we do down the line. And what we're seeking feedback on now is whether the requirements we're putting forward are appropriate for the stated outcomes of each credit. So the points are what comes later, but essentially as a bit of a guiding light for you, there will be no points for minimum expectation. So that's just kind of, you have to do that as a bare minimum. For credit achievement, there are generally up to 3 points per credit, per performance level. And for exceptional performance, which is that next performance level up, there are an additional 3 points. So again, I'll explain a bit more about that structure for those who aren't familiar about it. And you can look at page 17 onwards as well in the paper to get a further idea of that. 6-star will be doing the same thing, and we'll just have a higher points threshold at the end. And those climate positive pathway requirements also reach up the 6-star rated fit outs. The climate positive pathway requirements are based on registration date too. So this is a glance at the proposed Green Star Fit Outs credits list that we've put forth in this consultation paper. Like we said, we've got kind of 5 core categories in leadership. These are the 5 that we'll be focusing on because leadership is sort of something that stays consistent with the rest of the rating tools, and we release challenges later. So this is kind of the bulk of what we want to consult on and want your feedback on. You can see here that top kind of those names are the category names. Then we've got a bit about the key outcomes that category is driving. And then in the blue there, those are the names of the credits in each of those categories. So you can see the credit names sort of allude to the great outcome that they're trying to drive. So clean air is targeting providing clean air to your fit out. Powered by renewables is looking to ensure your fit out's powered by renewables. Upfront carbon reduction, looking to ensure you've got lower upfront carbon. Trying to make them quite intuitive so you understand what we're talking about here and what we're trying to drive. You can see here, so each of these little figures here indicate the number of performance levels in the credits. So typically some credits will have those minimum expectations. Others will start at a credit achievement performance level. So you'll need a couple of points to get on the ladder for that credit in the first place. You can have up to 3 of the performance levels in each credit as well. So minimum expectation, credit achievement, exceptional performance, and it varies between them, as you can see here. The other thing that we've outlined in this paper is the credits where we think there could be a volume fit out approach available. So we've just done an outline at this point, and it's something we want to hear a bit more about what you think in the consultation paper, especially for those who work on multiple fit outs of a similar sort of design, that think they can get some sort of evidence streamlined as well. So it makes it simpler and just more efficient for them to target some of these outcomes. So this is a glance at the 10 key things that every fit out will deliver. This is essentially a summary of the minimum expectations for you. So every Green Star fit out will need to achieve these things. This is what we're proposing. Again, we want to hear your feedback on this. So number 1 is about ensuring that they're designed to enable high levels of future reuse of the fit out products and materials. 2 is about measuring all material leaving the site due to demolition where it occurs, construction and fit out work. So actually getting those measurements happening. 3 is about ensuring that systems are set up to work optimally and relevant people understand how to operate them and maintain them once the fit out's ready for use. 4 is about providing good air quality, providing good lighting and acoustic comfort as well. Ensuring almost all materials are low toxin. Ensuring that the fit out is fully electric and installs energy and water efficient products. Demonstrating lower upfront carbon so that you're using lower carbon impact materials. Ensuring safe and inclusive site conditions for contractors too. So really looking at what's happening on site and how we're making sure that they're inclusive. And 10 is about designing the fit out to be equitable. So considering the diverse range of needs of the population of those end users too. So how do we make those spaces welcoming for everyone? This is an outline of the climate positive pathway that I mentioned previously. So the climate positive pathway makes certain credit performance levels mandatory for fit out projects, depending on the targeted star rating and the date of registration as proposed below. You can see on the screen here that we have a list of credits and the performance levels and criteria within them, and we demonstrate how, I guess, when you need to be targeting these based on the year you're registering and what star rating you'll be targeting. So there are some that will be mandatory from the get-go for all registrations. So those are included in minimum expectations. And then they will go up a notch for 5 and 6 star. And that will also continue to go up a notch over the coming years as well. So at those kind of 2028, 2030 year intervals too. So it's our method of ensuring that fit outs can be climate positive and taking the industry forward. A climate positive fit out is one that is addressing emissions in line with or ahead of the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degree trajectory. And these fit outs need to be fossil fuel free, highly efficient, fully powered by renewables, and offset their carbon with nature-based solutions. So again, this is a proposal. We want to hear what you think about each of these credits and this pathway in the consultation period. So let us know if you have thoughts on this. Give us a big thumbs up if you agree with everything and think we're ready to go on this, or if there are changes, suggestions that you'd propose, or things that you're not sure about. So get involved and let us know. And for anyone who is already familiar with Green Star Interiors, so I imagine quite a few of you on this call will be, and a few of the people watching afterwards too. So Green Star Fit Outs will supersede Green Star Interiors. And there are kind of a few key changes that we're making in this sort of shift. So one is kind of moving away from interiors and looking at fit outs. So making it more specifically working for a fit out scope rather than kind of looking at the whole interiors of a building. The intention of this is so that we're focusing on rewarding outcomes that you can make you can influence within a fit out project, as opposed to looking at heavily basing it on what the base building can provide and how that impacts your fit out. So it always kind of plays a role, but we're trying to more heavily focus on the role that you can have in the design and construction of the fit outs itself. Another goal of the rating tool that's changing is to create a market for circular outcomes. So we're looking to strongly reward reuse and recovery of fit out components and elements, really encouraging new business models and prompting industry to consider how to structure agreements to drive circular outcomes through contracting, design, and construction practices. You can see a bit more about this on page 19 in the paper and also in the appendix of the paper too. So anyone who's familiar with the current rating tool, the Green Star Interiors, I'd encourage you to have a look so you can understand a bit more about where there are kind of some synergies between the two and where there are things that are changing. I'll also take you through a bit about how to read the consultation paper so you understand what you're looking at and how you can engage with it too. So here we've got category outcomes. So this is kind of our category description pages that every category starts with. We go through and have the name, the outcome that the category is driving. So that's that kind of high level outcome that all of the credits in the category are contributing to achieving. We have a key point or stat at the top about the importance of the category. So this section is also about communicating the value of the things that we're trying to push in this category. Providing a bit of a description so that you can explain this to others as well and to understand why it is important. And then at the bottom there, we've got a summary of what the credits in the category aim to achieve. So just a very high level, what they're trying to ensure and what they're rewarding. Then we'll go through into credit pages. So after that kind of key category page, you'll have a credit page. There's generally one per performance level. So at the top, we can see up there, it says credit achievement. That's the performance level strip. Sometimes there are two. It will indicate 2 pages per performance level or more. It will indicate this so you don't miss anything. And same sort of thing. There's kind of that structure of just showing you category icons, so what that credit is in at the top, the criteria within that credit as well, and then an outline of what that criteria is trying to achieve to contribute to the credit outcome. The performance level too up there. What you need to do to demonstrate compliance with the performance level. So in some cases, what we're proposing is that it will be all of the criteria that are listed below, or in some cases, it might say 1 of 2 of the following criteria. So pay attention up there to what we're actually outlining as the requirements. And then on the right-hand side there, we've got other useful information. So that's about information that we've provided to support your understanding of credit requirements, and also just provide a little bit of additional guidance. On the left there in the blue, we've got the credit name, category name that sits within the credit outcome, an explainer of why the actual credit outcome is important. And then below, we also have a list of the stakeholders involved in the fit out that play a role in this credit. The ones that are bolded are the ones that play a role in achieving this credit. And then the key sort of stages at which the credit requirements here need to be implemented. We'll also highlight where there is a difference between Australia-based and New Zealand-based requirements too. So in that sort of light green for Australia and that blue for New Zealand too. So you'll see that in a couple of credits throughout. Now I'll take you through the draft credits themselves. So just a bit of a taste as to what to expect as you go through the paper and what we're proposing. And then I'd encourage you to actually go into the sections that you're interested in a bit more detail, and also get that survey open too, so you can let us know some of the feedback about what we're proposing. At this point, I also just want to let you know that if you have feedback only on some areas as opposed to others, that's fine. Just submit that feedback about areas that you have an idea about and just say you don't have an opinion on the others. We don't want to restrict you to providing feedback for everything if there are only kind of a few key areas of interest for you as well. So that first category that we went through earlier on, the circular category, completely new category in Green Star. So no other Green Star tools have a circular category yet. This is truly a first. So we are really kind of testing the waters here and trying to drive some circular outcomes too. So the outcome of this category is to promote circular procurement, design, and construction practices that enable the reuse and recovery of products, materials, and the fit out. So just framing, I guess, the fleeting lifespan of fit outs, coupled with the way we currently disregard the resources poured into them and don't keep them at their highest value, drives a lot of fit out components straight to landfill once they're no longer needed. So this is a cycle of waste that we're really trying to disrupt here. And that's actually a lot about what this category is trying to drive. These are the credits in the categories. There are 6 proposed credits in this category. They're looking at rewarding reduced use of new products and materials, fit outs that are designed to be easily adaptable for multiple uses, that are maintainable as well, so ensuring that you can maintain the components of your fit out. They are also ensuring that they're designed for reuse so that you know what you're doing with fit out components at the end of their life or when they're no longer needed as well, to avoid sending them straight to landfill or to lower value recovery systems like recycling. We are also then pulling out and rewarding partnerships with product or service providers. So recognizing this is a bit of a funny one that we don't usually kind of frame credits up in this way, but this is kind of a solution to a lot of problems as a product as a service scheme that we want to recognize explicitly. So it's a pretty exciting space here and something that we can, I guess, a method for us to drive some of that supply chain transformation as well. That final one there is about circularity measurement. So looking at some of the metrics that are out through ISO standards as well, and then doing some calculations. So could be for a slightly more complex or ambitious projects as well. So giving a range of options so that you can drive some circular outcomes in fit outs too. So a bit of a run through, I guess, an example in the category. So the dematerialization one, an interesting one and also a challenging one to reward in a rating tool, we'll say. We've got some questions about how we can best reward this, but essentially what we're trying to do is reward you for employing strategies to reduce or eliminate the number of new products in the fit out. So how can you actually just use less new stuff? The products as a service one is also another really great credit. Like we've said, this is actually about rewarding sort of use of a model. So products in the fit out that are delivered as product or service get rewarded. So we're proposing at this stage for you to demonstrate that at least 5 different types of products are delivered using a product or service model. So there must be 3 of each product type. So for example, 3 of a light fitting product and 3 of another type of light fitting product would qualify as 2 different types of products. This category and outcomes in this category will be of interest to a lot of different professions as well involved in fit outs. Particularly, I'd say manufacturers, anyone who's working in resource recovery as well, designers too, those who might look at kind of a product or service space, providers, anyone who's involved in retail of secondhand goods, for example, to looking at, yeah, again, a lot about those kind of design and procurement decisions in this category so that we can drive better outcomes for the end of the fit out life. The next one that we're going through is a responsible category. So there are 9 credits in this category. A lot of them will be more familiar to people who are familiar with our other future focus rating tools. So Green Star Buildings, for example. And a large part of this category is about that procurement and materiality of what's going into your fit out too. So ensuring that you're selecting reused products or products that have third-party certification that we're recognizing as well. Also ensuring that we're promoting that education amongst the fit out team and end users too about the great outcomes that the fit out's driving. So developing the industry moving forward there. And another one that we're looking at here is in that responsible fit out delivery is also rewarding reduced construction waste and prioritizing resource recovery throughout that duration of the fit out construction period. So again, if these sort of ideas are of interest to you, we'd encourage you to go to the consultation paper, read a bit more about what we're proposing too. again, we have questions for you. We need your help to make sure that we're framing this out in a way that is clear for you to understand, and also that can actually help drive change in industry. So have a look at this, page 32 to 42 in the paper, if you want to get that up, if that's of interest. And again, this is one where, again, designers, fit out owners, and also product manufacturers, suppliers have a big role to play. So draw your attention to this category too. That third category that we've got in there, so the healthy category, again, probably familiar with people who are familiar with Green Star buildings or our other rating tools. I think the important part about this is that kind of a shocking fact is that we spend almost 90% of our time indoors now. So the way that we create spaces is important to directing impact on our health and well-being. This category contains 8 credits. So looking at some of the things that you might be familiar with, ensuring that we've got clean air, not being exposed to harmful toxins from materials as well. The lighting and the acoustics are comfortable. We're setting up for ergonomics as well, so making sure that they're comfortable for us to use and engage with. Drawing connections with nature too, acknowledging that that's good for our health to connect with nature in our fit outs too. Addressing thermal comfort, so making sure that you're thermally comfortable in your spaces. And providing additional amenities or that will improve the occupant's experience as well. So they can also help to engage with that sort of social connection aspect too, and just making sure everyone's feeling included and welcome. The positive category is about addressing some of these key environmental issues of carbon, water, and impacts of materials. So some of the key sort of things that we're driving here is fully electric fit outs that are powered by renewables, so renewable energy contracts. You're using and installing efficient equipment, fixtures, and appliances in fit outs too. So that's looking at energy and water rating labels. We're trying to kind of make this more accessible again for what's within a fit out scope. So if you can select equipment, appliances that have energy rating labels, water rating labels, that's great. We've proposed this as a minimum, so we're hoping that's something that's achievable. If, for example, you were struggling to find items that you need that have energy and water rating labels, we want you to let us know so that we can look at this requirement and see if there's an alternative pathway that we need to provide you with to demonstrate that the equipment and fixtures and appliances you're installing are efficient. So again, kind of an area that we're asking for some feedback on. The upfront carbon reduction credit is about doing some calculations to demonstrate that you're reducing your upfront carbon. So this is actually an area that we have, again, a bit more work to do on, and we're asking for some feedback on what you think about what we're outlining at this stage. And then we'll be doing some work to develop some benchmarks too, and help flesh out some of the detail to make this easier for you to engage with and understand. That last one there, the upfront carbon compensations, that's about investing in nature-based offsets where you can to reduce some of that upfront carbon impact that you've made through what you've installed as part of the fit out. So that's the last one there in that positive category. So again, I'd encourage you to have a look at this and see what we've outlined and proposed in the paper there as well. The people category. This is one that's quite new from what we address in Green Star Interiors. So again, this is a whole sort of social side to it. And there's a lot of research that's been done about the impact of design of our spaces and how it impacts our health, and about creating social connections in our communities. So it's research that has been done that strong social connections boost survival rates by 50%, so making community health as vital as combating things like smoking and obesity. It's a huge impact we can have here in how we design our spaces to make sure they're welcoming for people, to make them accessible, and to make sure that throughout, the design and construction as well, that you're including and ensuring that you're creating safe workspaces for contractors too. So that's something that this addresses. Also addresses design for equity. So again, that's that aspect of making sure your spaces are designed to be accessible, incorporating universal design principles, and just looking at how you're including and welcoming a population with really diverse needs, essentially. The First Nations inclusion and the Tohumari Ora credits, there's one that's Australian specific and one that's NZ specific, really look at engaging with Indigenous communities and working with them to lead the design of the fit out too. So a few really great things that we can reward in this category, and a lot of new things in here. So I'd say a lot of these would be particularly of interest to contractors and subcontractors too, when we're looking at those inclusive construction practices and what you're actually doing on site for the people who are engaging in that fit out delivery process. And then also for First Nations folks who can play a role in helping us design fit outs with First Nations principles in mind and considering impact on country. And then design for equity. So again, like we said, making sure that we're creating really welcoming spaces. So doing some co-design in that space as well. Again, encourage you to have a read through the paper, read more about what we're proposing, and let us know your thoughts. So what we need from you in this consultation period, like I've reiterated many times, we'll continue to do so. This is a really collaborative time for us. It's a period where we actually really need your input, and you have a really crucial role to play in helping us shape the future of fit outs. So there are a few things that we want to know from you. So we really hope that you'll share some of your feedback with us. So the credit outcomes that we're putting forth, we're asking in the survey, do you support the credit in principle? Do you think that the outcomes are actually driving the right things? Do you agree that they are worthy outcomes, essentially? In the performance level, so in the structure of those credits, do you think that the requirements are structured in the right way in those different performance levels? So from minimum expectation through to exceptional performance. Is that working for you? Or do you have suggestions about rejigging some things in some cases, particularly in minimum expectations, if there are criteria in there that you think could be a barrier for fit out projects? Let us know and let's see what we can do about it, because we want to make sure that we're making especially that initial performance level accessible and creating pathways for you to achieve good outcomes. And then the criteria requirements themselves. So do you have feedback on what we're proposing as requirements and what we're driving, what the requirements are outlining? And I'll go on, and there are a few other things. So the challenges and barriers, do you foresee any challenges or barriers to achieving certain requirements? So for achieving light quality, is, the sector, is the location, is the budget going to be an issue for hitting some of those requirements that we're outlining here? So this is somewhere where we want you to let us know. In regional areas, do you not have access to some of these professionals maybe that you might need to engage with to actually achieve some of the great outcomes that we're pushing for? So again, let us know what you think. Let us know what your experience is in fit outs too. And then the other useful information sections, that's where we are outlining some information that is supposed to assist you with understanding the requirements and also achieving them. So whether it's guiding you to resources, standards, or just elaborating a bit more on what the credit is trying to drive. Are there other things that we can be including here that will help you understand what we're pushing for, or other resources that we can point people to help them in achieving the outcomes? Are there things that you need clarification on as well? So do you need a bit of extra help to understand what we're pushing for the outcome? Is something unclear to you? Let us know. We can work through and make sure that we can clarify anything that we need to. And then we have a couple of specific questions in there as well that we'd love your help answering. So one of them, for example, is about whether we should be incorporating a circularity pathway that's akin to the climate positive pathway. So do we need a mechanism for ratcheting up those circular category requirements over time? So that's something we're asking for. Put a few more in there as well. Some of them get quite into the nitty gritty, but just things that we're wondering if you can help us understand how they will impact your projects. And next steps, again, just reiterating where we're at. So we've done a bunch of scoping and we've done this drafting to get to where we are now. We've still got kind of a next leg to go. So this is where we're collecting your feedback, and all this feedback and what you're sending through now is what will help us drive the next lot of changes and refinement of the credit details and requirements. So let us know if there are extra resources that we can provide, for example, in the other useful information. If you need templates for something, if there are other things that we can help you with, this is kind of the period where we'll refine the requirements, do some reshuffling as we need to, create those additional resources to support you in achieving requirements too, and flesh out anything that we still have a bit more work to do on. We'll also be looking at in the stage that points allocation and star rating requirements confirmation. So we work with our governance groups to work through those. And then, like Taryn mentioned earlier, in the second half of 2025, we're aiming for a release of the submission guidelines. We'll also be doing a bit of that online submission platform development in that stage too. So working to get that ready for you to actually submit. So really exciting. Again, this is a crucial point where we want to hear from you. And you have a really big role to play in shaping the future of fit outs in Australia and New Zealand. And it's a really exciting opportunity to make a big change in the way we design and construct fit outs, and the impact that they have at their end of life too. So how we can actually set them up so that they're doing better work or a better job of looking after the resources that are going into them. So again, where we are now, where we're going next, and where we're aiming to release. So we really want to hear from you. You can read the consultation paper. That's where we direct you first. Provide your feedback via an online survey or an Excel survey. So the online survey is quite good if you've only got a bit of feedback or want to give us feedback on a few credit requirements, for example. The Excel survey is great if you want to actually download that, share it with your organization, fill it out over time incrementally, and then just email it back to the consultation email. So that's all in the paper and on the website to direct you to what to do. Consultation will close on Jan 31st in 2025. So I'd encourage you to do what you can to get stuff in before the end of the year. Otherwise, in the new year, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll encourage you to keep getting those survey responses in. Again, this is the most accessible time for you to play a role in shaping a new tool. It doesn't come about often. It doesn't stay open forever. So we really want to hear from you. We want to get your help in shaping up what the future of Green Star Fitouts will look like and how we can help support you to drive great change. Thanks very much. So again, from Taryn, Joe, and myself. If you have any questions, you can direct them to our consultation@gbca.org.au email address. You can scan this QR code again to access the consultation, direct you to the website.